Now, you're still live on JoyNews today. It's a special edition of the bulletin because today is a big day in the country. We are dissolving the 7th Parliament. In just a few hours, it will be no more and the 8th Parliament will be inaugurated. Let's go back to the House for an update on today's business. That's the dissolution of the 7th and the inauguration of the 8th. MFR Power is standing by with some members of Parliament for a quick chat. So, MFR, what's the situation where you are?
This is the Joy News channel. I must say we're also live on Joy 99.7 FM. This is the dissolution, and we're taking you through the dissolution of the 7th Parliament as we're ushering in the 8th Parliament. And this is the channel you ought to be on from now until the inauguration of the President-elect through to the inauguration of the 8th Parliament, which is the parliamentarians that have been elected to make up the 8th Parliament. We'll take you through that. Also the voting of the Speaker of Parliament, and then also the first and the second deputies of Parliament. Already, we'll be having discussions on whether it's a hang Parliament or not. We're trying to settle that score where we've been told that the Speaker, in the event that we are not able to settle that, the Speaker of the 8th Parliament, which is what the current Deputy Minority Leader, James Kluti-Aveji, and of course the incoming Deputy of that side of his house, that's the Afenyo Marking, is also been saying. But right now, we'll start off the interaction, and I'm sure you've been seeing pictures also of the chamber as it is now. We're hoping that the makeup of that chamber, or the 7th parliamentarians, will be joining us, and then the last meeting of the 4th session of the 7th Parliament will take off. Quite a mouthful. That will take off, and then will lead to the dissolution when it kicks in at midnight. So you ought to stay with us here on the Joy News channel. After me, my colleagues will also take over. Daniel Dati will take over. Then at 10 p.m., Evan Spencer and Winston Namwa will take you through the decision night, which is the election of the Speaker, the deputies, and then we'll go into the swearing in of the parliamentarians for the 8th Parliament, and then, like I said, the inauguration of President-elect. But with me here in the makeshift studio in Parliament today, we have Mr. Emmanuel Bejra, MP for Ho West. Yep. He's retained his seat as well. And then, of course, the MP for Menchia North, Mr. Collins Amankwa. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here in our makeshift studio. I'm sure Happy New Year is still in order at this point. Okay. Well, I'm sure you're looking forward to the 8th Parliament. We all say it's almost a broken record. That is, it will be an interesting Parliament to look out for. Already it started, but we can't start the 8th Parliament by not also talking about your fondest memory of the 7th Parliament. So since you make up the majority, clearly at this point, I'll start with you, Mr. Collins Amankwa. Let's talk about the 7th Parliament. What for you are the major highlights?
Well, very well. Thank you for the opportunity afforded me to, as it were, throw more light on what I experienced under 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic. Honestly, I had an opportunity or privilege to serve under 6th Parliament when executive powers were with NDC, and also under 7th Parliament. And let me put it on record that 7th Parliament has been very, very interesting. Okay. And it will go into history as the most hard-working Parliament, especially under the 4th Republic.
Some of your colleagues chose the 6th over the 7th. They felt that the 6th was more interesting than the 7th because they had opportunity to debate more than they did.
Well, I beg to differ. I beg to differ from side views because, as I was saying, that I had opportunity to enjoy these two parliaments, and clearly I saw that under 7th Parliament so many things happen, including passage of laws, and it's on record that we passed more laws under 7th Parliament than any single parliament in the annals of this country. And as we speak, we are yet to experience what will happen in 8th Parliament. Other than that, I think 7th Parliament still stand tall in terms of delivery. And clearly we heard Mr. President yesterday commending 7th Parliament for such hard working of presiding and also superintending over hundreds of bills, and also working to maximize, I mean, the welfare of our people as legislative arm of government. So for me, one thing that I know, as far as, I mean, leadership is concerned under the seventh Parliament, I realized that the current Speaker, Reverend Professor Aaron Michael Quay, is very accommodating.
Okay.
He gave opportunity to backbenchers, unlike what I witnessed under sixth Parliament when Joe Ajaho was Speaker. And to be honest with you, I want to be candid that the old good, Professor demonstrated that indeed he has vast knowledge and also experience as far as parliamentary proceedings are concerned. Always trying to acknowledge, especially the backbenchers. And for me, thumbs up. That was something that I realized that, look, there's an opportunity for all, and it afforded some of us opportunity to also make impact under seventh Parliament.
Okay, but whilst you were saying that, I realized that Mr. Manuel Beja was laughing under the mask. I could tell from the expression on his face. Why so? You disagree that
if I did laugh I did laugh under the mask because I was expecting my colleague to tell us the truth. He was in the sixth Parliament. I was in the fifth Parliament under Right Honourable Bamfo Addo. I was also under the seventh Parliament, sixth Parliament under the leadership of Duajaho, and the seventh one under the leadership of Professor Michael Quay. And I must say that starting from the fifth Parliament, she's a mother and she's able to bring everybody on board. And there was a lot of time for debate. People were given opportunity to express their view. To the extent that backbenchers were given opportunity to be able to, debate issues and also come up with, solutions and prefer some suggestions for bills to be made properly. Then we came to the Ajaho 6th Parliament. Ajaho 6th Parliament, like you said, that was his first time. So obviously, when you come to an enterprise or establishment for the first time, you have some issues with the establishment. And therefore, if he was a backbencher, was not given opportunity, then it means that your seniors were given opportunities because of what it does.
But you've been comparing it to what happens now, and it appears that backbenchers are given the opportunity.
I'm now moving to the seventh Parliament, which is the current Parliament, which will stand dissolved by midnight today. Now, looking at the sixth Parliament, opportunity were given to a lot of people. I'm sure that's why he was even identified as a potential chairman or leader when their party won, because he was given opportunity to talk. I remember quite very well. And so he cannot say that the Ajaho led Parliament, he was not given opportunity. The seventh Parliament had a little challenge, and everybody attests to that. In fact, listening to the airways this morning and this afternoon, I've noticed that a lot of people were not happy with the seventh Parliament.
Why so?
Yeah, so we'll talk about the highlight. But before I come to the highlight of the seventh Parliament, you'll notice that the current leadership, the current Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Aaron Michael Quay, started very well, but along the line, he began to become a partisan person. His partisanship was shown in every aspect. This led to many of walkouts in Parliament, which has never happened
11
before.
On your side.
Yes,
at the last count, 11
walkouts. It has never happened before. Walkouts, why? Leadership of our side will be standing up, and the Speaker will not even recognize him at all. He just turn his eye and start, engaging his own people. I mean, that is not the democracy we are building. We're building democracy that is a consensus building. That is why in our sitting arrangement, you notice that we sit so that we can, agree, have a consensus among ourselves. But when a speaker allows himself to be used as a partisan person, and he allows one-sided to be given opportunity than the other people, it creates problem for our democracy. Yes, indeed, you have the majority, fine. But in every democracy, we say minority will have their way, and the majority will have minority will have their say, the majority will have their way. But that did not reflect, and that has led to what we have today as what we call a balanced parliament. Ghanaians have seen that we cannot continue in this vein. We cannot continue like this, where you have majority of people coming and doing whatever they want to do. They want to have a rich, debate. They want to have the minority also coming with their view to make laws and to also bring proposal on board. In fact, I'm happy that we have this balanced parliament now. And in the 8th parliament, I believe that a lot more will be seen, where Ghanaians have not decided that, look, we are not going to give you guys, enough opportunity to do whatever you want to do, but we want to see debate so that that consensus that's supposed to be there will be there. Now let's go to the highlights. The highlights.
But I must say that we'll be crossing over to the chamber shortly because with the bell rang earlier, we're hoping that the parliament will be filled by now. The chamber will be full by now, but still it's just forming, and we're told that we'll be going over to the chamber shortly, and then also we'll cross over to the studio. But briefly, I'll then take your major highlights, then we can quickly move into the
Well, to be honest with you, I am shocked and surprised at the kind of account given by my colleague here, as far as 7th Parliament is concerned. I mean, it's on record that Professor Michael Quay has been very, very, accommodating to both sides. But to talk about walkouts, it's one of the tools to register your protest as far as parliamentary democracy is concerned, except to say that NDC minority is synonymous with walkout.
Oh.
Yes. Any issue, they will just walk out. Then you ask yourself, do they even have the nation at heart to start with? So I would want to admonish my colleagues
that going into the 8th parliament,
they should drop their walkout attire and begin to reflect and think about the people of this country, that as far as government business is concerned, they should be more tolerant. They should think beyond their party's position. If not, I'm afraid.
Are you happy with the tag that you have earned for
Parliament
yourself?
Is going to.
I'll respond to him that it's never true. The JH Mensa-led minority side walked out.
How many times?
I don't know, but they've done. They also walked out, and then even when the second time they also walked out. Now,
yours was
but if it wasn't good back then, why is it good now?
So while you are given the opportunity to, as part of parliamentary proceedings, to walk out or stage a walkout or do other things.
But you abused it. You abused that process.
When we were talking, I wasn't. So keep quiet. Let me talk. I'm your senior. Now, I mentioned that the current parliament, Ghanaians have seen, and I'll continue to hammer that, Ghanaians have seen that they don't want a situation where you have majority bullying minority. That is why Ghanaians have voted for a balanced parliament where you cannot intimidate other people with your numbers. So whoever takes over the speakership will have to learn from the immediate past speaker, who currently is the 7th Parliament Speaker. Whoever is taking over as the 6th Parliament will learn, because knowing very well that Ghanaians, the mood of Ghana will also be at play when it comes to the leadership of the House.
Well, I would want to leave you briefly to go into the chamber. I'm sure we'll get to have more interactions as we go into the 8th one. But quickly, I was hoping to get one highlight in terms of what exactly it is your takeaways will be from the 7th Parliament. Is there one particular issue, apart from, he's talked about the walkouts for the minority, for instance, but is there anything really apart from these that stands out for you as we go into the 8th?
Yes, he mentioned that the 7th Parliament was very interesting. Really, it was really interesting. But one of the highlights, the key major highlight that I appreciate so much of this Parliament has to do with the passage of the Right to Information Act.
Great. I'm sure we both agree on that. You're saying that. I will briefly have to run. At this point, we are supposed to go back to the chamber, and I'm sure that once we go along, we'll get to interact. But let me take you live into the chamber now for proceedings.
on today's order paper. I so move.
Thank you very much. Who seconds?
Right, Honourable Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you very much, Honourable Daklu. Please, all those in favour say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Please, move substantive motions 6 and 9. Oh, sorry, now 7 and 10. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the motions listed as items 7 and 10 on today's order paper. And Mr. Speaker, in so doing, I'll present the committee's report. Mr. Speaker, 7 is an amendment agreement to the loan agreement for the construction and furnishing of 7 district hospitals. And the motion 10 is the request for the waiver of duties and taxes associated with this request. Mr. Speaker, Parliament in 2012 approved the loan agreement for the construction of the 7 district hospitals and provision of an integrated IT system by NMS. Mr. Speaker, the project was scheduled to be completed in 36 months from the commencement date. Due to delays in the implementation of the commercial contract, the availability period of the loan facility elapsed without the loan being fully utilized. The instant amendment is aimed at extending the utilization of the facility to 30th November 2022 and to ensure the successful completion of 4 out of the original 7 intended projects. Mr. Speaker, details are given in paragraph 5.2 on pages 7 and 8. The Dodowa one is completed. Fomena Takrady European Housing Project, the Kumewu one at various stages of completion given. The Abetifi one is at 35%. The second D one, we haven't found land. And so the suggestion is that now that you have a new regional hospital, the ministry might not go ahead with the second D1. Mr. Speaker, also under consideration is a waiver of duties and taxes associated with this $16.2 million. As an annexure to the report, you would see the cost to completion for the Fomena, Kumewu, and Takrady one given after page 13 here. Attached as a second annexure is an assessment done by the General Revenue Authority of the duties and taxes to be waived. Mr. Speaker, the committee has satisfied itself that this is in the right direction and therefore recommends it to the House. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honourable Member for Adaku.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I rise to second the motion moved by the chairman and make these few comments of my own. Mr. Speaker, indeed, these projects were approved in 2012 to build 6 new district hospitals and to also build a housing project in Takoradi. Mr. Speaker, the report tells us that since we made this approval, government was unable to fulfill part of her obligations in terms of provision of electricity, potable water, and other things which were not part of the initial cost. We were also told that some of the sites that were designated for this project were not handed over to the developer for a period of 2 years. Mr. Speaker, if you ask a developer to put up a facility within 36 months, and after 2 years you haven't given them the site, obviously they are not going to be able to deliver on schedule. Mr. Speaker, as a result, the developer could only complete the Dodowa Hospital, which the World Health Organization regarded as one of the best examples of what a district hospital should be. And then Fomena was at 85%, Takrady housing project 85%, and then the rest follow. Mr. Speaker, what we are being asked to do basically is to give the ministry the opportunity to reactivate this project and to complete Fomena, Kumewu, and the Takrady housing project. the committee has been told that the ministry will have to find other ways of funding the rest, especially Abetifi and Garu. It is expected that the secondary project, since, as the chairman said, other projects have been scheduled for that area, may not necessarily come on. So, Mr. Speaker, we are not taking any new loan. The committee is just requesting that the ministry is given the opportunity to utilize the remaining 38.8 million to complete 3 of the existing or ongoing projects for the benefit of our people. Mr. Speaker, with regard to the tax waivers as well, they've added a schedule of assessment on what they wanted the waivers on. We were told at the committee that the developer was granted a temporary reprieve in terms of not paying certain levels of tax. This approval today would actually confirm that, to make sure what we normally do, which is to give waivers to on 10 key projects approved by this House. Mr. Speaker, I recommend this to colleagues to approve and for us to complete the next 3 for the benefit of our people. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You may make some comments if you so choose. Leadership may make comments. Our order is tall, please.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I speak in support of the motion, but in doing so, Mr. Speaker, to request that the committee's reports to us with clarity. If you read page 6, the instant amendment is aimed at extending the utilization of the facility to 30th November 2022 and to ensure the successful completion of 4 out of the original 7. In reading this report, I'm struggling to know the 4. So which hospitals are the 4 hospitals we can, for purposes of oversight tomorrow, know that this facility is being extended to complete those 4. The Honorable Kwame Agboja attempted. I heard Kumawu, Abetifi. What happens to Garu? We heard the explanation with Sekendi Takrade. So we should know which 4 hospitals will be completed with this with clarity. My second, Mr. Speaker, is to come to paragraph 5.3. Factors that cause a suspension of the project. One of it was non-fulfillment of government obligation to provide electricity, potable water supply, access roads, and internet. If this is not done, how functional and effective will be this hospital? What is the commitment of government to honor its obligations as we are extending the tenure of the contract? That is captured in the committee's report. Then finally, Mr. Speaker, reference is made to the Asofotone case, which was ruling of the Supreme Court on Article 1815. I think it's about time that we do the proper and necessary consultation and do the necessary modification, because Article 181 is in respect of loans. 1815, Mr. Speaker, I'm compelled to conclude by just quoting it for our purposes. I'll conclude with it. So 1815 deals with international economic transactions, and it reads, this article shall, with the necessary modifications by Parliament, apply to an international business or economic transaction to which the government is a party as it applies to a loan. We will have to examine the ruling of the Supreme Court in respect of all those cases, and Parliament has an obligation to reform and consult with the Office of the Attorney General to get the necessary modification so that we fully give effect to Article 1815 of the Constitution, apart from just the 1811, which is restricted to loan. So, Mr. Speaker, I support it, but I need the chairman of the Finance Committee to speak to me with clarity. Which 4 district hospitals are expected to be completed with the extension of the tenure? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Majority contribution. Yes, Honorable. Honorable, I told you had the leaders. Yes. There will be only one, so please make up your mind. Leader.
The Speaker, the
Minority Leader has raised a constitutional issue, and as he is aware, Parliament has engaged
Minority Leader
Nana Dr. SKB Asante, himself a constitutional lawyer, who has proffered a professional opinion about this. It's within the circles of Parliament. It's for us to consider saying, and if we have to adopt it, perhaps with the necessary modifications ourselves, we'll do so. But now the ball is firmly in our courts. It's in the court. And I think what he has submitted to us is most relevant for our own consideration and determination. So yeah, I just wanted to relate to that. The others, in terms of response, the Honorable Ochedako will do so.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to support the motion on the Finance Committee report for the amendment agreement to the ECGD loan agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, Barclays Bank PLC, and others. Mr. Speaker, it is very important that we all support this motion, in essence because health is wealth. Mr. Speaker, if you take the committee's report, it talks about the ability to use the outstanding 38,841,352 million for the completion of the projects in Fomina, Kumewu, and Takrady. Mr. Speaker, I'm particularly happy that the Takrady project has been included in this particular phase, more so when we have only 15% of works that are outstanding. Mr. Speaker, this project, especially the one in Takrady, had become a major political contention during the run-up to the elections, because a lot of people feel that it was a deliberate plan by the new administration not to complete them. Mr. Speaker, but if you look at the facts here, clearly it shows that there was a difficulty. And I'm very happy that the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health has been able to come to some agreement that today we are all supporting for these projects to be done. It's unfortunate that the Sekendi one could not be done. Mr. Speaker, the Sekendi one, even though it was named Sekendi, it was actually supposed to be positioned in Escado, on the other side of town, which we call Mampong. Unfortunately, I believe that because we could not secure the land since 2012, it has become necessary that it is dropped for the new hospital, regional hospital to be done, and for the Sekendi Ifikwata hospital to be upgraded into a teaching hospital, which funding has already been approved by this House. And therefore, I do believe that now that we've gotten the Dodowa one,
bringing you live proceedings from the chamber as we speak. And of course, the chamber is currently, or the House is currently deciding to approve a $162 million facility for 7 district hospitals, we are told. And it's amazing that at the dying embers of this 7th Parliament, we are hoping to approve $162 million. And the gentlemen are still with me here in the studio, Menchia North MP and the Whole West MP. Mr. Collins Osuamankwa and Mr. Emmanuel Bejra. I'm surprised that this is happening at this time. I don't know if there's an explanation for it. Is it that you have a number of things on the order of what you're supposed to do for this 7th Parliament that you couldn't exhaust, that we're doing it at this time?
MFA, don't be surprised. I am not surprised at all, because if you look at the schedule of work that we went through in the 7th Parliament, we have worked and overworked to the extent that when it COVID, we
when
had.
You say you've overworked, you're supposed to be working.
No. We're supposed to have schedule.
Okay.
That you have meetings, and those meetings you're supposed to end, get back home, rest, and have meetings with your constituents and come back refresh. But in this current Parliament, it wasn't like that. Especially last year, where we had COVID. You all know, Ghanaians were crying for us that members of Parliament should go home. We were here working to the extent that the time that we're supposed to go on recess, we're still working for Mother Ghana. Only for today, the 11th hour, to the dissolution of parliament, and we are still here approving facilities for the country. I mean, what is so urgent about this facility
that 7 district hospitals that
we cannot take it tomorrow, or we cannot take it in the next parliament? I mean, what is so urgent about it? It's been there since 2012. Are they telling us that it's so urgent that we have to take it today, or otherwise the whole world will come to an end? I mean,
well, MFA, we're supposed to work, and as Honorable Bajira said, that the workload is so much that we are preoccupied. So for me, what time is it inappropriate that we should think about the welfare of the ordinary Ghanaian? This is for our own collective good, that we are taking a loan to improve the lot of our people. And I don't see anything wrong with that, whether we are doing at the 11th hour or even in 8th parliament.
The concern is that you would have to then rush through the process for it to be passed, and then maybe the proper things may not be done, or that's
let me give you one example. I can't
Parliament like a farmer. 2 major tools that we operate is the standing orders and also the 1992 Constitution. So we are being governed by the orders, and per the orders and also the Constitution. You could take even a bill within a day. It depends on how best we will adhere to the laid down procedure. And for me, we are following due process of making sure that we will work on this loan facility. I don't see anything wrong with that.
You see, MFA, when it is their time, they don't see anything wrong with it. You were in this country 2016, just immediately after our general election. The honorable minority leader then, Chairman Saboso, walked to the leadership, walked to Parliament, and said they were not going to take right information out. You remember?
Remember 2016?
We were about. We were
about 30th December.
We are about to complete. We are about to complete the Right to Information Act then, to the extent that we have almost done with what we call the amendments of the various clauses. Then they came out and said, no, we are not going to do any business. You cannot force any business on us. The 6th parliament is coming to an end. Let the 7th parliament take over. So why are you trying this dying minute, 11th hour? You want to take a loan?
I don't think we are rushing through, except to say that you don't want parliament to work. If not, there's no cause for alarm. We are in this country
in the 5th parliament,
the president who lost general election appointed a whole auditor general on 30th December.